Hello and welcome to this new episode of the Startup Caffe podcast. I'm your host Sriwant. Today on this podcast, I'm speaking to Manas Tripathi, who's the co-founder of RARA Barefoot, a company which is rethinking footwear. RARA Barefoot is inspired by the barefoot running of Raramuri tribe from Mexico, and it's built on a simple but powerful belief that nature has already perfected human foot, and footwear should work with it, not against it. Manas comes with a very strong pedigree. Before starting RARA Barefoot, Manas Tripathi spent a lot of time at 1MG in a very senior position. I actually met Manas online because he's based out of Dubai and we couldn't meet here. And what started as a simple conversation quickly turned into a very sophisticated exchange of ideas around design, operations, and how to build companies. This conversation goes beyond shoes. It's about design, evolution, and courage to challenge established categories. And I'm sorry for a little grainy video and sound which is sometimes not so perfect, but I'm sure you would understand what he's trying to say, and I'm sure you would enjoy his journey with me. Give me a brief description about your journey, who you are. Brief description of how you started and where you are right now.
I started in 2000. My career started in 2012 with Hewlett Packard. I started as a business analyst. Then I went to a startup called Lookup, which was basically an O2O model from which we were trying to bring online customers to offline stores. And then third, a large part of my career was spent in 1MG, which later became Tata 1MG. So I started there working in the e-pharmacy domain, in the supply chain side of things. Then I went ahead and led the distribution business. During COVID, I briefly led the diagnostic business, and eventually I was co-leading the omni-channel retail launch and P&L at Tata Energy. And post that, I just started this company called RARA Barefoot.
And tell me briefly about RARA Barefoot. What is your core product? What is the USP and how you intend to change the world?
So at RARA Barefoot, we are trying to build the best barefoot sneaker in the world. Let me explain what a barefoot sneaker is. Barefoot sneaker is a shoe that tries to biomimic the mechanics of your feet by three features. One, it is wide at the front to allow for your natural shape. It is a zero drop to allow for your natural landing and position. And three, it's completely flexible to allow for your natural range of movement. That's what RARA Barefoot is.
And why do you say this line in your website, which is like 4 million years of evolution now in your size? What do you mean by that?
Our feet are biomechanical masterpieces. If you look at physical abilities, the only physical abilities that humans have that is unparalleled in the animal kingdom is the ability to walk and run long distances. Our ancestors have all traversed continents, and it is because of how our feet are designed. Right? Our feet have 26 bones, 33 joints, 100 plus ligaments and tendons. Right? So it's a really intricate piece of engineering. And that is why whenever we think of shoes should adapt to this design, evolutionary design of the feet, rather than the feet adapting to the design of the shoe.
You recently got funded, so tell me a little bit about that.
We did raise a small family and friends round, about close to $500,000. We were fortunate that the people investing were either building, they have already built, or are operators at India's biggest, most well-known consumer brands, right? So I mentioned earlier also that all the founders of Tata 1MG, the CEO of Tata 1MG, they invested. The founders of HexaHealth invested. The co-founder of Zomato invested. CBO of Urban Company invested. Apart from people who are experts in various consulting firms or VC funds and those, they also invested in kind of their own capacity. We didn't want to raise a large round at that point because we wanted to first show proof of concept. We wanted to
retain your equity.
Only then, more than equity, it was more like that. We wanted to have more
Proof
proof
of
of concept,
concept.
more we
Hmm.
wanted to do more before we reached out to, for larger size check and investment. And
Okay.
that's why when we started initially, we started with our own money, like all the development and figuring out the supply chain, figuring out the designs, and figuring out what the product will look like, all of that. And on the basis of that, we raised a small friends and family round, and got started a few months back. In terms of numbers, it's been better than expected, in the sense that the sales velocity has been much faster than we had anticipated, and that's the reason that we've already run out of a few sizes and we are getting them back in a month or so. uh,
Hmm.
and on all metrics, in terms of CAC, in terms of ROAS, and all those metrics looks very good right now. But it would not be fair to comment on them right now, because while they look great as of this moment, it's just been 2 months since the launch, right? So
Yeah.
while we are obviously optimistic and happy to see those numbers, but we have to be cautiously optimistic, because we have to give it a period of 6 months, 12 months to see which way it is trending.
Fundraising aside, what does real validation look like for you as a founder?
Consumer love. That is, I would say, the number one metric that I would have. Yeah. So, for instance, there is someone based out of NCR. She's a renowned physiotherapist. A couple of other doctors, etc. We all wanted them also to try the shoes. Their consumers to try the shoes, and we've gotten overwhelmingly positive feedback. I mentioned earlier also, we tested it across machines that calculate how the pressure is distributed across foot, and consistently our shoes has been outperforming one of the best in the market. So that plus, while it's just a couple of months, we've already seen a small percentage of people doing repeats in other colors, or maybe buying for their family. So that also shows. We've also been calling consumers and trying to get feedback, and it's been like, it's there is a real sense of community. Like, for example, we were there at the Goa Marathon. We were co-sponsoring one of the part of the event. So, we were there, and a lot of them had already seen the brand, because that segment has already got some awareness about barefoot, already seen the brand. They were very forthcoming about what the next line of development should be, what do they think about the product, how it is different from other things, how we should go about it. So they've been super helpful. They've been very forthcoming with their feedback. They've been giving very solid inputs on what kind of colors we should develop next, what kind of shoes we should develop next. So we're taking all those inputs into account, and it's been very helpful to sort of draw out the plan for future based on what we are hearing.
Excellent. And tell me a little bit about your market landscape. Who are the big players? Who are the gold standards in this category?
I think when you talk about barefoot specifically, Vibrant is a company that has existed since the 1930s, I feel, and they are available all across the world. In India, they are largely available through import, but I would say they are, in my opinion, the best in the market. But like I was mentioning earlier, also that most of them have taken a functional approach to barefoot, right?
Hmm.
Which leads
Hmm.
its usage to only very specific purpose, like running or working out in the gym, while the real advantages of barefoot would be that you can use across different categories, and that can only come when A, the shoe is very, very good, and B, it is designed in a manner that it can be used throughout the day. And that is what we are trying to innovate and do for ourselves. The other thing is that when we see competition, we see, like, we want to take barefoot to a mainstream kind of a proposition from a very niche user, because it is beneficial for everybody. So we want a wider scale adoption, and we feel like we can only have wider scale adoption when all the best sneakers that you can think of, or thinking of right now, which is like the Nike and Adidas and Pumas of the world, when you can make sneakers which are barefoot, but they are as good as, in terms of design, in terms of quality, as those brands are developing. So that is the benchmark we have to meet, and that is what we are aiming at, and what we are building towards.
तो इंडिया मार्केट की बात करें तो इंडियन कंज्यूमर्स का अवेयरनेस लेवल क्या है इस कैटेगरी में?
आई वुड से कि नॉट जस्ट इंडिया, पूरे ग्लोबली ही इसकी अवेयरनेस बहुत ही कम है. ठीक है.
Hmm.
एंड क्यों कम
Which
है,
means you
थिंक
will have
अबाउट
to
इट.
educate. You will have to also educate people, right? The stuff
100%.
that you talked about, the feet, and the stuff that you talked about on how we have to take care of them so that we are there for the long race. So how are you solving that problem of education?
See, I would say more than a problem, I feel that is our edge also, in the sense that we are not just like we are not just another sneaker. We are a sneaker with a differentiation that is better for you, right? So when we do any kind of advertising, that differentiation angle is already there. So we totally see that as an as an advantage. The other thing is that what can we do in our communication to the consumer, in any, like, even from the website to the socials to even the packaging that reaches the consumer, the story is consistent and education is consistent. Second, you know, people like you have given us platforms to sort of come and speak, and hopefully that will also help in our endeavor to educate the consumers. So that would certainly part of what we are trying to do. And third, I would think that there would be two categories of consumer, right? One would be who doesn't know about barefoot, right? We educate them, and there is some logical or functional element of it which it appeals to them, and they think, okay, let me give it a try and see how it is, right? That, let's say that consumer segment is going to be very, very small. Okay, there is a second set of consumer who's just out there to buy a sneakers, looking at new brand. They see this brand, and there have been new successful brand across the world. Like even in India, I look at Comet, you look at Gully Labs. Across the world, On is not small anymore. It's a huge, but it was also a new kind of player. So there is a new entrant in the market. They think, how does it look? How does it feel? How does it price? Like, how are the reviews? All those kind of into thing, and then they learn about it. Okay, this is a good looking shoe. This looks like something that I will be interested in. Also, it is barefoot. So for them, maybe the functional might not appeal to them as much, but just the aesthetics and the brand, how the brand is, might be appealing to them, and the barefoot is a cherry on the cake. That is also there in the market, and we see ourselves firmly in the sneaker market with a differentiation angle, which is a barefoot, and will always be central to that. Like, we will always be a barefoot sneaker company. No way in future you will see that we will bring a non-barefoot sneaker, because we truly believe in the benefits of the barefoot. But we are firmly in the sneaker category, I would say.
अच्छा, एक बात बताइए मुझे कि if we look at the big players, the big brands like Nike and Adidas and Reebok, are they
Correct.
looking at this category? Because when you go to these stores, you never hear about foot health and things like that.
One, Nike already tried experiment. They brought in a barefoot line back in early 2000s, right?
Okay.
But they can never go big on it. A very simple reason. See, essentially, a barefoot shoe's features are different from a regular feature sneaker. Now, if you talk about, if you, as Nike or Puma, Adidas, you go and talk about that, this is why barefoot is great. It is great for your foot health, and it's better than regular sneaker. It's going, and let's say that's even successful. And by success, I would say that, let's say it's 1% of any of those players' sales. It is immediately going to cannibalize the meat of the lion's share of their pie, because every other shoe that you are selling is not barefoot. That's why I said, like, for us, we are very clear that we will always be a barefoot shoe company. We are not going to launch another. Let's say there is a fashion of chunky shoes that was there for I think last year, or Korean shoes that was there, right? Now, if we launch a chunky sneaker that is not barefoot tomorrow, then we are not a barefoot company anymore, right? We are just selling what's out there in the market. So similarly, those companies champion different things. They champion faster pace. So, for
DNA is
example,
totally different. DNA is different.
totally different. So they sell performance shoes, right? So if you, the performance shoes have, that's their top of the line focus, because they cut down your competitive racing time by a 2 to 3%. Right? So for racers, that is great. Like, you go ahead, and if you want to shave off those 3% of time, you go ahead and get those sneakers. But if you look at what elite athletes around the world, some of them are already, they, while they play in specialized shoes, they train in barefoot sneakers to strengthen their feet. So I think for them it will be a simple question of cannibalization, because of which they will not really go very heavy on barefoot. Which again, by
Great.
the way, is a competitive advantage for us.
One footwear habit people don't realize is very bad for your feet.
I think wearing anything that has got elevation on the heel, wearing anything that is tapered at the front so it cramps your toes together, right? Those two, I would say, are the worst. And thirdly, wearing anything that restricts your range of motion, which is not flexible, doesn't allow you the full range of motion. All of those can lead to weakening your feet.
So now focusing back again on the entrepreneurial journey of yours. Uh, you worked for a big company and many big companies you work for, and now you're building your own company. So, what are the high and low moments when you look at this?
I'll have to think hard about the lows because as a rule of thumb, I really try. I've always tried to do things that I really enjoy, and
Mm,
there is this like my expectation in general is that whatever you plan, there will be some ups and downs that will come with it. Nothing will go perfectly smoothly as you plan to be. So
mm,
when let's say there is a deviation on the negative side towards the plan, uh, I
mm,
really don't get too perturbed by it because I feel like that is also part of the journey. Like that's why you enjoy the highs so much because there
mm,
are things that are not going to go through the plans. So highs is of course doing something of your own, building something from scratch, trying to
mm,
do trying to do something ambitious that you really look forward to, having real meaning to in general in life. If you're
mm,
doing trying to build something of your own, that is a great thing. And then the other thing would be getting it to do with someone who you are friends with, also you respect professionally. That's again a plus point. Having a supportive ecosystem of course helps. So all of those, and then hearing from consumers, seeing the thrill of product going out to the consumer, etc. Those are all parts of highs. Lows, I would say, like I said, deviation from negative probably can be classified as low. Don't feel too perturbed by it. But let's say if we do not meet some consumers' expectation, if there is a product that doesn't turn out the way we want to be, that I can classify as low. In that case, like what, like I would say, like the way I look at lows is that either it is actionable or it is not actionable. That is the only two things, right? Like let's say
mm,
something goes wrong, तो या तो आप
mm,
उसके बारे में कुछ कर सकते हो कि उसको
mm,
कुछ करके ठीक कर दोगे, तो वो
mm,
आप इंस्टेड ऑफ फीलिंग लो यू डू दैट, या आप उसके बारे में
mm,
कुछ नहीं कर सकते कि ऐसा कुछ हो गया कि यू कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग अबाउट इट. So if you cannot
mm,
do anything about it, what would feeling bad would achieve, right? So
mm,
there is no
mm,
like in either cases you have no rationale.
mm,
So it's a human that you might feel it momentarily कि यार ये वैसा टर्न आउट नहीं हुआ जैसा चाह रहे थे, बट
mm.
मतलब यही दो केसेस हैं, तो that's how I would look at lows actually.
Take it as it comes.
Yeah, I think it is a part of experience, and basically think of it as they are things that, like for example, if you have a fast, if you are fasting for a day, the next day the food is tastier. Okay. So similarly, if you experience a low, it is basically preparing you to enjoy your high when you're on the high
Correct.
side of things a little bit better.
Good things come to those who wait and who build. Yeah.
Perhaps.
So it's been 2 months that Rara Barefoot website has gone live, and where all product is available. If I have to buy, where can I go? I can go to your website that I know, but you're not on any retail shelf, right? As of now.
Yeah, we wanted to be direct to consumer first, to be in touch with every single customer that orders and get to know their experience. And that's how we are going to stay for a while. After this, we can look at some strategic partnerships, like, for example, potentially offline partnerships, or potentially, especially in UAE, for example, we are thinking about a couple of them. But first, we want to be like, as long as possible, we want to stick just D2C, just pure D2C, which is from our website directly to consumer, and till it scales to a large number, we want it to keep it that.
Tell me one habit that has helped you stay focused and consistent as founder. One habit that you would recommend to people who are watching this.
I think one habit would be always take into count whether you are doing busy work or deep work. So there is a lot of busy work that will come, which is small things that occupy your time. But as a founder, even when things get hectic, you have to take out time where you are just thinking deeply on certain things, right? And
Mm,
that that will sort of bring out really high quality work. And
mm,
so I really believe in this. And there's a quotation that, and so that's Varun, and there's a quotation that is there on our site that we stand by, which is that there is no beauty without a terrible depth. If you want to create something beautiful, beauty is very subjective. What appeals to you might not appeal to me. But
mm.
there's always one common thing in beauty, that it is not superficial. So if you can take out times to do deep, non-superficial things, those will those will bring the best out of you.
Is there a role model that you have in business who you think has really made it big or has built something which is really commendable, admirable, and you look up to that person and say that, okay, this guy has done something really worth doing and I like his journey.
I wouldn't say 1%, but I have to give you a few examples. Like, you learn a lot from different kind of people for different reasons. Right. So first, I will go with people that I've already worked with, at 1MG, or even before that at HP. They have been, they have shaped my career in a very meaningful way. So definitely that would be one. And if you're referring to people more in the public kind of domain who we have not really met, I would say like the founder of Patagonia, if you want Johnny Hardy, he has written a very wonderful book called "Let My People Go Surfing." So it's a very different approach to business, which is A, environmentally conscious. B, I would say it's very human conscious in the way that it's not just out there to maximize shareholder value. It's out there to maximize quality of life with anybody who's associated with their company Patagonia, and which I feel like is more founders like that should exist, right? So I'll give you an example of how they went about doing things. So for example, they had a concept called job sharing, right? So what they would do is, let's say there is a role in marketing, for example, just example, right? So they would have two people, two very highly qualified people who had opposite interests. So let's say one person had interest in skiing and one person had interest in surfing. So they will pair them together. So when surfing season comes, then the other person will basically take over that person's responsibility, and vice versa when skiing season. So just think about their quality of life, right? So that's one. Second, they have stayed true to their principle of being of giving back to earth rather than taking away from it. So they focus a lot of repairs, removal of wastage, being eco-conscious, and they respect earth because we all should. I shouldn't say because. So I like that style of thinking. Then I would say Charlie Munger. It's called Charlie Munger's book is called "Tell Me Where I'm Dying and I'll Not Go There." So it's basically a collection of his wisdom over the years, and they are very very simplistic kind of wisdom. So I really like the art of the simplification from him. So that's another person that I would say is someone to look up to.
What is that one advice that you never forget?
So it's from George Bernard Shaw, and he says that the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress must come from the unreasonable one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I read
like
that long back. Yeah. Yeah. And I totally believe in it. I think Steve Jobs also said something similar where he said that, you need to follow your gut and you need to follow what you think. And then you have to change people around you rather than changing yourself around people. Because
Yeah.
all the change is brought by people who are unreasonable, right? Otherwise, you would just
Yeah.
adjust and adapt and mingle with the crowd, right? Last but not the least, your advice to budding entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs who are currently sitting on fence, working somewhere, looking at you and thinking he's done it, he's made it, he got funded as well within such a short span of time. His vision is so clear. What are the three things you would like to tell somebody who's watching you?
Yeah. First, I would say that you would have to, the first thing that you have to build before getting onto this journey is that you have to have extreme self-belief based out of extreme self-awareness, right? And let me explain it to you. Concept that's called Dana-Kruger effect, which is a U-shaped curve which measures the degree of confidence and self-awareness. So at the top of the U, anybody who's not done, who thinks of something superficially, they have a very high degree of confidence. So for example, we all have advice for Virat Kohli, okay? Because none of us are cricketers, so we all think that he should leave the ball outside the off stump, and a lot of employees would feel that whoever is their boss or CEO, they would think, oh, I would have done this very differently. So when you have less depth about something, your degree of confidence very high. That is the top of the U, the left side of the U. Then you learn a little bit, you grow in your career, you rise the ranks a little bit, you understand the work more, you understand the complexity more, and through the U your confidence kind of fall, but your self-awareness goes up, right? And finally, when you master it, you come to the top and right side of the U curve, where you have very good amount of confidence, right? Where you are prepared, where you think that you really understand something. This is where you need to start when you are on the right side of the U, right? When you have very high degree of confidence, boss not very high degree of self-awareness, right? Because that is both of these things are going to be tested. Okay, so only when you have the strong belief and understanding and depth, and you have basically worked more on it than the person across the table from you, you would be able to deliver it. That is number one. Number two, don't get married to a single idea, right? There might be an idea that you really like, but what you need to do is you need to uh, go out, talk to within your friends, within your people who are you have a system of honest feedback coming to you, where if they don't like your idea, they can come say that to you in a way that it doesn't hurt you, and even if it hurts you, you have to realize that if people around you are not super convinced with the idea, might be you need to work a little bit more on it, or might be you need to think of a stronger idea, because this is a reflection of how consumers are going to react, right? There has to have legs in it, right? So my third advice would be that try to execute your idea perfectly rather than looking for a perfect idea, right? Because probably the perfect idea is non-existent. Like, for example, if it is a very good idea, let's say it's a market that is going very fast, has very high margins, obviously it will have a lot of competition from big and small players, right? So then what is your right to win? If it is a very niche, small, then the question is that how much will you grow, right? If the market is niche itself, that how much would you grow? So whether you should select a niche or whether you should select a mass market, what is the right answer? So there is no right answer, right? You need to have an in-depth understanding of an idea. You need to have a basic framework that there has to be certain qualifiers for your idea. That, for example, it has to have a certain amount of margin structure. It has to have you must utilize all the best skills that you have, and you can apply to that. So it can have those basic parameters. But don't wait for the perfect idea. Get your idea right. Think very deeply about it, and think about perfect execution.
Very well said. And I must tell you this interesting thing that I meet a lot of startup founders for my podcast, and the world is split. It's split 50-50.
Yeah,
Half of them would say that, take a plunge. If you think too much, you'll keep thinking because
yeah,
the comfort of salary every month is such a big comfort that you may never come out of it. And the other half would say that there is a very high chance of failure if you don't prepare well, which is a fact also. If you look at it,
yeah,
you would see that we talk about success so much and we undermine failure totally in popular culture. But there are a lot of people who fail because they've not done enough research. So the world is split, and I think we would let it be, guided by personal journeys of individual people and how
yeah.
they feel they can pull it off. And with that, that brings us to the end, Manas. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much,
for
Sriwant.
finding time to join us here at the Startup Cafe podcast. We would love to meet you in person sometime. Whenever you are in Delhi, please give me a buzz. I would love to welcome you at our office, and we would have a chat face to face. And I wish you great luck for your company. And you've just started. I hope to do another podcast with you in probably a year down the line when you've made it big and that the RARA Barefoot is a known name. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Sriwant, for giving this platform to entrepreneurs. I think what you're doing is very meaningful. I am sure there will be some startups that are just born simply because they were watching someone on your platform and answering questions that they might be thinking about. So thank you for giving platform to entrepreneurs from all across the. I've seen that you have a very diversified kind of portfolio when
Yeah.
it comes to interviewing people. So
Yes.
that really broadens the scope and
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
cast the net very wide. So maybe different interest group of people will find it appealing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and yeah, let me know if I can be of any help.
Great. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. We'll see you around. Thank you so much.
Same. Thank you.